Alright, so I've got my 1x12s ready to start cutting up. The benefit of making them this way with the pocket holes as opposed to, say, a tongue and groove and panels is you can get away with using all this knotty wood because all your strength is going to come from the panel behind it, not the panel inside it. It's kind of going to tie everything together. So we're using some inexpensive 1x12. I can get this stuff for 99 cents a running foot. So this 8-foot piece of 1x12 is $8. I think we're going to get away with using just 3 for the entire build and some little bit of panels on the inside that I have scrapped. But anyway, what I like to do first is I've got my SketchUp drawing of how it's going to be. I've got my cut list of my sizes and dimensions and how many quantity, and I've got my layout. So the first thing I'm going to do is transfer this top board layout to the piece I have now. I'm going to cut them all to length first and then rip them down to width on the table saw. Now all the rails and stiles in this blanket chest is all going to be 2.5 inches wide. That will allow us to put a pocket hole screw in there for 3/4 inch material, and none of the pocket hole will be sticking out the side. Now the panels are obviously going to be behind it, so it hides all the pocket hole screws. The panel, once you tack it into place or glue it or however you want to secure it, that's where your strength is going to be. Obviously the frame by itself is going to be pretty strong, but the panel is going to tie everything together, so that will be where the majority of your strength will come from. So anyway, I've got the top piece laid out for my length measurements, and I'm going to go ahead and cut these on my panel sled on the table saw and then rip them down to the length that they need to be. Now that I have everything rough cut to the length we need, I'm still going to cut these to final length on the chop saw once I get them ripped down. But got them all rough cut to length. Now I'm going to strip everything down to 2.5 inches. Now that I've got all my pieces ripped to the width that they need to be, I've got them rough cut to length. Now I need to cut them to final length. And what I'm doing is I'm going through my my cut list here and finding the shortest measurement and then writing it down on the first board. I've got these arranged from shortest to longest, and I'll just write down my final measurement on the top piece of each one of these sections, or pieces rather, and then once I get to this top piece, I'll set up my stop block at this one's 11.5. I'll set up stop block at 11.5, cut all 4 of these, and then I'll move my stop block to the next dimension, cut all these, next dimension, cut all these, and so forth until I have everything cut down to my final length. After that's done, it's time for pocket hole screws. Also, I took the time to rip my top boards, and I chose some that had some rather large knots to use as the top panel. And what I did is I took my final depth measurement of, I think that's 19.5, camera may be fuzzy, so we'll say 20 inches divided by 2.5 inch width, because I want to use the same width as I'm using on everything else. You're looking at 8 pieces that we're going to use as a glue up for a panel, and then I cut them, rough cut them at a couple inches longer than the actual box itself, and I'm going to leave them that way until after I cut them that way, or after I glue the panel together. That way I can just cut the entire panel instead of each piece. But for right now, I've got to get these cut down to final length, and then I will set up my pocket hole Craig machine and go ahead and start cutting pocket holes.